watching another episode of the NRW Checkpoint with WebsterStyle and my man Brian Sapph. Brian, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. We got a lot to talk about. Games coming out, but also
Right.
the leaks are started with the quote unquote Sony PlayStation Game Pass competitor. I don't think it's really a competitor. And not to slight Sony, I'm just saying it's like it's fruit, but it's different fruit. Apples and oranges is the
Right.
way I really see it. So with that, Jeff Grubb and a couple other outlets have leaked some details about codename Spartacus, which I believe is just going to go by the moniker of PlayStation Now, but it's three different tiers. So
Yeah.
you have Essential, which is going to be supposedly $10 a month, and at the time of this recording, it is March 8th. So there's supposed to be a state of play on March 9th. So we'll probably get all the deets by the time this video comes out. So basically $10 for Essential, and that's pretty much the same thing as PS Now. So you get your 4 free games a month, and that's about it. And I think multiplayer is included with that as well. Is that correct, Brian?
Yeah.
PS
Yeah.
Now.
It's the
Okay.
PlayStation Plus. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the Xbox Live Gold sort of analog, which is very similar in price and everything, even what you get as well. Then next up, you have the Extra, and this is what going to be $13 a month. So this is your subscription service to give you access to the 300 plus games that are currently available via backwards compatibility, not backwards compatibility, excuse me, for download on the service. And that's old and new games. And based on some of the reports, is like 250, 300 games. Again, this is very much in comparison to what Xbox offers with Game Pass. Now,
Right.
the third portion of that is the premium, which is going to be $16 a month. And that's everything from the first two, obviously. But this also includes your classic game. So this is your streaming backwards compatibility with a curated selection of classic games, as well as I said, game streaming, but also game trials. And that's similar to what EA does with EA Plus. They give you limited time trials of new games with it, and that's going to be $16 a month. So it's in my opinion, a very good melding of all of their different offerings right now into one. It's really not really one service. It's just really renaming it and adjusting the pricing structure somewhat. Which, and again, Xbox very similar. You still got Xbox Live, you got Game Pass, and then you have Game Pass Ultimate, three different tiers: $10, and $14.99. But with Game Pass Ultimate, you get literally everything: PC, console. You also get streaming as far as on phones, wherever, cloud gaming. That's what cloud gaming. So it's a little bit
Right.
different there, but I think that the biggest question mark, and we saw this last week when we talked about Shadow Warrior 3, is, well, first of all, we know Sony's not dropping first party titles day and date. Sony's not doing it. Sony's the only one that's charging an extra $10, $70 for current gen hardware or current gen games. We know that's not going to happen. The question is Sony going to pay up to get third parties to drop their titles day and date? Shadow Warrior 3 is a pretty obscure title. I didn't even realize the game existed till then. And Shadow Warrior 2 is actually on Game Pass. So it
Okay.
has a history of being on subscription services now. But is Sony going to pony up that money? That's the
Right.
question. What do you think, Brian?
I think in certain instances they will, because I don't know, Sony, they're really big on exclusives and stuff like that. So I think in certain cases they will decide to like say, hey, this is a highly anticipated game. We want to make it available, first day it comes out or whatever. Especially when you look at how PlayStation like structures their I guess catalog per se, because some games you can't get on the PlayStation Plus. You have to do PlayStation Now, whatever the
Right.
case might be. So I figure that they would be like, okay, for these newer games, we have to go ahead and just, compete with Xbox and, do the launch day title and stuff like that. And just to give the fans some some hope in the new structure of the system. I think some of those titles will be. You look at exclusivity, like what they did with Marvel's Avengers or whatever, like Spider-Man is only available on PlayStation. I believe that's changed at this point. I'm not like
No, it's still
100%
the
certain.
same.
Huh?
It's still the same. But
Oh,
see,
okay.
Avengers may not be the best case to really utilize for that one.
Right. I'm just using them as an example just because like PlayStation is still making these deals with these developers and
Right.
these companies or whatever to where they can have a character like Spider-Man who was very popular. That probably would sell the Avengers game a lot better on the Xbox if he was over there, but they're still making these deals to where it's like, oh no, he's only going to be on this console for X amount of time, whatever. So I believe PlayStation will continue with that kind of format, even with this new update to the PlayStation Plus system or whatever, and make sure that we have like certain games like at day of launch just to be on a more competitive edge with Xbox.
Right. Yeah, I think they're ponying up, like you said, for some titles to have them day and date. I don't see them doing it a lot because Sony's kind of stingy when it comes to, they'll pay for exclusives, but they actually like give the money to the service. Because in my opinion, PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now were very much afterthoughts of Sony's business strategy.
Yeah.
And yes, they're kind of melding everything together. It's going to really take time, at least for me, to see as a gamer and I guess now a gaming journalist, to really see if they put their money behind this new service when it launches, or it's just going to kind of be left fallow. Like is there. If you use it. Not. It's not like, again, had to compare to Game Pass, we even call out Game Pass. Game Pass is very much a crown jewel of the Xbox platform, and Microsoft is positioning that to the future, not to take away from their console, their hardware sales, but it is a complement to that, and you can use that instead of using a console. For instance, Flight Simulator, which is purely next gen. Mm-hmm. Now I can play it on my 10 plus year Xbox One via the cloud. That is the promise of what Xbox is doing with Game Pass and Game Pass Ultimate. That cloud gaming aspect, I think, can really change things. And while Sony is doing that, they aren't doing that with their first party titles. They aren't doing. They're only doing it with backwards compatibility, and that's the issue I have. And I have the issue with Nintendo as well with the Switch. Backwards compatibility is behind the paywall.
Yeah,
and I hate that with a passion.
Yeah. And you know what? I can see in some instances like why they chose to put it behind paywall, because like for me, example, I'm a PlayStation like player as far as my main console is concerned. I have PlayStation Plus, but I don't have PlayStation Now. And it's just because PlayStation Now, it caters to those older generations of gamers who want access to backwards compatible like game titles or whatever. Whereas me, even though I do love the older games and I wouldn't mind playing those again if I had access to them on a more like open basis or whatever. But there's so many new games coming out. It's like, why would I go back and play Crash and Spyro and all this other shit when I have Horizon out now and all of these great new games on the current gen of consoles or whatever to kind of keep me occupied? But with that or whatever, I don't know, because you were mentioning that, they don't really put a lot of detail into like their whole system or whatever. Like it's an afterthought, and I can agree with that. Like we got PlayStation Plus, it was more like an online thing, like you just had it so you could play multiplayer games, and then over time they added all these extra cool features. You get free games and stuff like this, whatever, which is cool. But like you said, it did feel like an afterthought. I think with this new PlayStation Plus kind of Spartacus upgrade or whatever they're gonna end up titling it, like I think it will be more focused on the gamer and the actual player, because these tier things, had I known about it or had this been an offering at my first time playing PlayStation, I probably would have did it, you know what I'm saying, and got the highest tier. But it was just like, I'm not paying for PlayStation Plus and then paying for PlayStation Now, and then whatever else you want to sell me on the PlayStation Store or whatever. So I mean, personally, I'm just excited for it because I feel like it's a good step in the right direction.
I totally agree with you. And I guess we could probably visit this next week, hopefully, if they actually make an official announcement tomorrow at Play This Day. But I will say on the pricing, I feel like that 16, even though it's $3 more, if I was a PlayStation user, you really have to make a compelling argument for me to go to that premium tier.
Right.
Because game trials, I don't care about game trials. I don't think most people care about game trials per se.
Right.
I think that also that backwards compatibility, again, you have to like that's a having it behind a paywall really only entices that niche player, much like you were talking about.
Mhm.
Having you be able to buy a disc off eBay and pop it into your machine is something totally different.
Right.
You know, you attract a lot more people who were going to backwards compatibility, also being able to purchase those items from your digital marketplace as well, which is still not the case with PlayStation. Again, that may change tomorrow. That's not something that is leaked out,
Right.
but you know, there have been rumors for a while of something like that or backwards compatibility being added to the PS5 specifically. So
Mhm.
we'll see tomorrow. I'm excited as a gamer, and I will tell everybody, yes, I have been rocking with Xbox since 2002, since my Dreamcast. But at my core, I've been a gamer since the Atari 2600, and I just love games. So I want
Yeah.
everybody to win.
Yeah, it's gonna be dope. I'm interested to see what they talk about tomorrow, especially because we have all these leaks coming out about
Right,
Spartacus, and then there's also the leaks with PlayStation VR 2. I want to
right.
see
That's
how
probably
those
announced
things,
that too. Yeah,
yeah, I want to see how those things like work out with each other, because that's also something that Sony did not put a whole lot of thought into. They just kind of put it out and was like, oh yeah, we'll see how it goes, X, Y, Z, whatever. And they
right,
integrated it into PlayStation Plus as far as giving you one free VR game a month or whatever with the
right.
subscription.
Well,
But
that
it's
was
like with
awesome.
this new price tier, I'm wondering, because we talked about them acquiring Bungie and what that could mean for VR and stuff like
Right.
that. Like this is going to be interesting to see what they talk about tomorrow.
Right. Well, I guess after the state of play, we'll have a lot to talk about next week.
Right.
Hopefully. Let's get into some new releases, and there are a lot. With probably one of the biggest new releases at the very end. But first up, we have RPG Time: The Legend of Wright, and this is on all Xbox platforms, PC, iOS, and Android. So it is console-wise Xbox exclusive at the moment, and it's an RPG. it's the title, but it
Right.
has a very fantastic art style. We're going to be seeing that a little bit later on in the show. Has like some hand drawn stuff as
Mhm.
well as it looks like that the Yoshi game that was on Switch, what he's like yarn or whatnot, has a kind of texture to it as well. So it looks really interesting and exciting. And I was actually just looking at the trailer again before we got on, just looking at a big screen on the TV. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is
Okay.
interesting. And also, it's only $30
Oh, that's
as
good.
well. So it's an indie title, and it's something that definitely looks like it's going to be fun to play. And I would say for $30, you can't go wrong with supporting an
Nah.
indie developer like that.
So all these new games, 50, 60, 70,
Exactly,
gas through the
exactly.
roof. Get you a $30 game.
We ain't talking about gas.
It's
All right. Next up,
crazy.
we have Ashwalkers, and that's on the Switch, and this is an adventure game.
Mhm.
Not too much really to say there. It looks cool. Didn't really see
Okay.
much else about it. The next one is a game I'm actually excited about that I didn't know about until really I looked at the releases, and that's Aztech Forgotten Gods, and that's for the PS4 and 5,
Mm.
Xbox One S and X, Switch, and PC. Is everything is an action game, but it's a Mesoamerican sci-fi action game. So it takes those Aztec mythology and makes into
Okay.
like a sci-fi action game, and that's also an indie title. Is $30 as well. I am all for titles because we talked about what Never Alone last week, if I remember correctly.
Mm.
Those sort of titles that really explore native cultures
Right.
and their mythology. I think that is so untapped. One of my favorite comics from the past, I don't know, 10, 15 years is a book called Azteca, and it's taking Native American, I'm not Native, but that sort of Aztec Mesoamerican lore and incorporating that into a modern setting. So I've always loved when creators really look at alternative sources of inspiration for their art, especially gaming. And that's again with indie gaming, we're seeing more and more of that inspiration. Those ideas come from non-traditional sources, I'll say. So I'm excited for this
Yeah.
game. This is definitely one I will more than likely download when it comes out because it looks really cool.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
And I think
Okay, we have the trailer for that.
yeah, we got a
Good.
trailer for that as well. Okay, yeah.
Cool. A lot of God games lately.
Yes,
We're on a wave.
a lot.
I'm excited though.
The next one is, well, it's not too much to talk about. This one, Chocobo GP for the Switch. This is a Chocobo kart game. If you don't know what a Chocobo is, look up Final Fantasy.
Oh, is that from the Final Fantasy?
Yeah, you know, little yellow things.
The little yellow things with the red nose. Oh, okay.
Yes.
That's gonna be that's for
it's for the kids. It's for the kids.
And it's for the Final Fantasy like diehards.
Right.
They're gonna love this game.
Exactly. Next up, we have Submerged Hidden Depths, and this is an adventure game. It's going to be on the PS4 and 5, Xbox One, S, X, and PC. Interestingly enough, this was actually first released on the Stadia back in 2020. Why did you release it on the Stadia first?
I don't know. They didn't want it to sell, obviously.
I don't know. But it looks really beautiful. I'm not too much, I don't know too much about the actual backstory of the game, but just watching the trailer earlier, I was doing research before we started the show. It looks very beautiful. Again, another indie title. I think it's also $30, if not, maybe 40. I don't think it's a full price game, but I would say definitely check out the trailer. We're not watching this today, but check out the trailer if you're watching this. I mean, it looks really cool as far as the gameplay is concerned. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying where it was going to. Okay, so it's coming to all the. It's not going to Switch.
No, it's not. And I was surprised at that as well. Like, how you gonna stay them not on Switch? It might be one of those staggered releases, but there was no indication or time for release date for the Switch as of publication or recording of this video. So it may change.
Might be an indie studio that hasn't realized the demo yet.
Yeah,
because this is it like a kiddie kind of, not a kiddie game, but it's
no,
it
doesn't look
kids
kiddie. Okay. It could, but the art style was very not saying uniform, but it definitely wasn't that sort of kiddie cartoony art style, but it wasn't like super hyper realistic either. It was very stylized in the art direction that it depicts, and it was utilized for it. So I mean, it looks cool though. It looks like definitely something I'd check out eventually. And if you have Stadia, check it out. It's now.
Been there. You might have played it already.
Exactly. Last week we had Aperture Work Desk. This week we have Workshop Simulator, which is, as you can imagine, is simulating running a workshop. And this is going to be on a PS4, Xbox One, and PC. And of course, if you have an Xbox Series system or a PS5, backwards compatibility is in play. But this is a simulator. You run your own workshop. You figure out how to fix stuff and make money and so on and so forth. It's pretty straightforward.
They really tapping in with these simulators. I think they want us to go back to work. I'm gonna take a guess and say all happening. Of the workshop simulators is COVID is done, go back to work. But
exactly,
some of those simulators are fun, and they fun to stream also. So
it looks cool. Again, simulations in general have never been something I've been interested in, but it definitely is like, if this is a sort of game you like, looks like something that these sort of individuals will like as well. So
yeah.
Next up, we have Young Souls, and this is for PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Again, backwards compatibility applies to all of this. And this is an action game. It is a dungeon brawler with RPG elements. And interesting enough, much like Submerged, this was released on Stadia last year. I mean, we know Google wasn't cutting those checks, so I don't know. Maybe they were.
It might have been just easier. Cheap to do it like that. I don't know.
It might have been. I mean, it's an arcade dungeon brawler. It's not the most detailed game. It looks fun. Looks very simplistic. Again, those RPG elements will probably add a layer of sophistication to a game you wouldn't think would be that deep. But it looks pretty cool and interesting. So definitely, check out the trailers if you're watching this. See if something you like, and go forward from there. And then the last game released this week is one that many are highly anticipating. One, because they're wrestling fans, and two, they want to see how hard it bombs, considering the last entry in a glitch-filled menagerie that it was. No, I'm not angry. No, I'm really not because I didn't buy it. But
Sure.
that is WWE 2K22, and that is for every system but the Switch. Yeah, if you saw a video from the Switch version of
Obviously.
2K20, you'll totally understand why they're probably waiting for this. But again, this game needs no explanation. It's the latest WWE game.
Mhm.
Rey Mysterio Jr. is on the cover. They also have that NWO edition. This is 2022. Nobody cares about the NWO, and I'm a lifelong wrestling fan. Okay,
Right.
it it looks really great. They revamped the engine. If those who don't know, with the last game, Uke used to develop it, and then like midway through production, it just went totally over to 2K. So
Whoa.
that's why it was kind of a CF from what I understand. So this game is totally 2K, and they reworked the engine. Graphics look better. I
Mm.
haven't seen any reviews on it yet, but it looks good. But the last one looked good too until people started playing. So I'm really hoping for better outcomes from this game. I think the last WWE game I played was 2K16, and that's only because they gave it away with Xbox Live Gold one year.
Damn.
Before then, I hadn't played a WWE game since at least the like SmackDown and Raw when it was split.
How long ago was that?
That was like Xbox, the original Xbox and the PS2 going into 360 PS3 era.
Somewhere
Yeah.
around that time.
Yeah. So it's been a long time since I played a WWE game. Now I did play the Impact game or TNA game when they
Okay.
were at that height, and that I enjoyed that back in the day on the 360. But other than that, and I'm a diehard wrestling fan. I just wrestling video games outside of the arcade stuff has
Mm.
never appealed to me. Don't know why. But
Wow.
WWE 2K22 looks cool,
Mm.
especially if you're a wrestling fan, not just a WWE fan. Because one of the great things about the WWE games is that they always have a very robust character creator. So you can
I was
literally
just getting ready to
create
say.
your favorite AEW people, your ROH, which has now been bought by AEW, Impact stars, reality wrestling stars. You can pretty much create whomever you want to with their character creator. So I that's one of the great things about WWE games. Even if the gameplay isn't that great and you're not really cool on the roster, you can make your own player. You can make anybody you want.
Yeah. I seen one of my friends, he was streaming it last night. It looks cool. I'm not a wrestling fan, you know what I'm saying? I had my brushes with it as a child, but like I'm not
What?
into it or whatever. I just is what it is.
What?
Yeah. When they went from what it was first, it was WWF, wasn't it?
Yes.
And then when they went to like I was
Yeah.
like, oh damn, I fell off. That's
Yeah.
just a
Get the
whole
F out.
different,
Up. Mhm.
it just made no sense. But I don't hate wrestling. It's a cool thing. I like it's enjoy. I enjoyed watching it when I was a kid. But yeah, he was streaming it last night, and it looks good. Like you said, the creator tool or whatever to create your character was phenomenal. Like he was even designing his own like signature moves and stuff like that. I was like, oh, this is dope. Now I don't know if you can always do that because I never played a wrestling game, not since like N64 days.
Right.
Like it's been a while. But
WCW, all those
right.
games. Yes. The Taki engine. Yes.
But it looked pretty cool, and he did a few rounds or whatever. I was like, okay, cool. This is like what you would expect from a wrestling game of today's like
Right.
today's next gen hardware, whatever. So I was like, it's not a bad look. But you said the last one was bad, so maybe I'm just looking at
it
it
got
with
better from what I understand, but there was
okay.
just the videos that went around for months. It took them a very long time to patch that game to get it serviceable. Actually, a guy that I follow on Instagram and YouTube, his whole YouTube channel is he uses Creative Play and creates pay-per-views and creates wrestlers from all different
That's kind of
organizations,
dope.
MLW. He went back to Lucha Underground. He just has so much. So it's gotten to be a serviceable game in that regard. But when it first came out, the bugs and the videos that came out for the bugs, it was laughable. Like you're like, how could they release? Like they should have just delayed it. Like it was that bad. Like
Oh,
they should have
wow.
just delayed it. So I'm really very optimistic that 2K22 really learns from the mistakes of the past and really delivers wrestling fans a very solid entry into the WWE series and just a wrestling game in general, because they aren't, we talked about the other wrestling game a couple weeks ago, but there aren't any sort of simulation wrestling games on the market of the caliber of WWE and what they offer at the moment. There will be eventually, but as of right now, they don't. And that's really the only game that people have to really go to find household stars that people know, GM modes, and really detailed graphics and the move sets that right out of the box. And I think with that, that's something that's really appealing, even for somebody like me. Is like, it's really awesome to have that in a simulation, realistic sort of setting, not so much just the arcadiness of the WWE Battlegrounds that came out last year. People want that. Those games sell a lot every single year, and for 2020 to be such a horrible disaster left a sour taste in a lot of fans' mouths. So a lot of people are looking forward to this one as being sort of a redemption song for the series.
Okay. I mean, I can see it. I like I said, I checked out my homie stream or whatever. It looked like a very interesting game. I will say that the UFC game also looks good, but because they just put that on PlayStation Plus as like one of the free games.
I forget their UFC games.
You don't?
I said I forget that there are.
Oh yes, yeah. And I never played the wrestling game or whatever, but I threw a couple punches in the UFC game, and it's pretty good. But in terms of the WWE 2020, only thing I'm worried about is 2K. So microtransactions are going to be like crazy.
Oh, don't stop.
But other than that,
well, they do traditionally have packs of wrestlers that you can buy. So with WWE game, that's tradition. They don't usually nickel and dime you. They usually have character packs that come out every so often, and also season. So they aren't crazy with it. At least in the past, they haven't been crazy with it with the WWE games.
All right. Well,
this ain't NBA 2K.
I'm rooting for it. I'm rooting for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I like their wrestling's been able to stick around all this time. It's entertaining at the very least. Like, I like watching. I was enjoying watching the gameplay. It's just not a big wrestling fan. But
I understand.
Appreciate the 2K. You know what I'm saying? Deciding they want to come in. If the microtransactions stay low, and like you said, it's just character packs or whatever, I think people will like enjoy it. I think it'll be a good step in the right direction for whatever they're trying to do.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. So we're gonna table that because we're actually gonna watch the trailer toward the end of the show. But let's start off our first trailer, Aztech Forgotten Gods.
Well, we got Aztech.
Aztech Forgotten Gods. Looking at this game, I love the art style. And again, it translates to all of the systems, whether it's Switch, Xbox, or PlayStation. From the art style, you think it's not going to be that intensive where it couldn't run on something like a Switch.
Yeah, this looks good. I like the way it looks.
You got little platforming elements, puzzle solving.
We have the lonely character. Shout out to History, man.
Right.
Oh, that's cool. That's dragon right there. Oh, sure. Okay. Oh, that's okay. That's all. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I've always loved that sort of that art style as well.
Yeah. You said that was coming to everything?
Yes, that's coming to everything. PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch, and PC.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah,
that looks good. I like that.
It's only $30, so
okay.
You can't go wrong with a game like that for only $30.
No. People need to take advantage of the pastime games. These are games that you can like play and just get into, chill, relax, pass the time instead of rage quitting Apex all day.
Right. I will tell you some of my best experiences in the past couple years playing games have been those indie titles, especially playing them through Game Pass, but just in general, like those $30, $40 titles, not $20 titles, they provided more fun and excitement than a lot of those AAA $60, $70 titles for me at least.
Right. And that's what I'm looking forward to most with this whole PlayStation Plus rework or whatever. Like if we have a Game Pass element that will allow me to play these games, because you can download demos,
right?
But that's what the first 10, 20, 30 minutes. I don't want to play that.
Exactly.
If I could get my hands on these games through, a trial or something that just gives me enough time to play through it and decide if I want to keep it or whatever, like that's gonna be dope.
Right. Exactly. So next up, another indie game, RPG time, The Legend of Wright.
Okay. Because The Legend of Rome didn't go so well. Let me see.
This is a tale where you, Kenta, and a young hero must save a princess, all before it's time for you to go home from school.
This
is the land of light, where humans and animals live in harmony. Among this beautiful land's residents is a knight in training named Wright. One day, quite unexpectedly, a girl falls from the sky. Wright catches this young lady who turns out to be Princess Lei of the Land of Light. Since then, Wright and the princess have written to each other regularly, even after he left to begin his training. But one day, the princess's letters stopped coming. Wright knew that she and her kingdom were in trouble. And indeed they were. Chaos reigned as demons invaded the kingdom. Wright rushed into the fight, but was swiftly defeated by the Demon King. Wright, ever the determined hero, vows never to give up, and so begins his quest to save the princess. Collect intel and meet new friends who will accompany the hero on his travels in Porch Town. The powerful plant demon Evilwood awaits within the depths of Skull Forest. The shinobi village will teach the hero the techniques they call jutsu. A terrifying witch awaits inside the witch's manor. Your journey will even take you high into the very clouds. An epic, handmade tale of adventure, the kind you've always dreamed of, awaits you. A handmade notebook adventure, RPG time, The Legend of Wright. Coming March 10th, 2022. Now it's time for adventure.
I'm just getting ready to say.
This is why I love indie games, because this is a sort of game that a big publisher would not put out. I can see Microsoft funding something like this as like a side project, but they're like the only big publisher I could see doing something like this.
Yeah, because it has a niche. Like this is not this kind of game. Like if I'm looking at the trailer, right, we just had, it reminds me of a TV show that used to come on Cartoon Network called Adventure Time.
Right.
So you put this in front of a child, maybe, I don't know, 10 years younger, 20 years, 15, don't matter. Right. Somewhere in the adolescence area, they'll love this because it looked just like the TV show, but like fun that you can play.
Even with that, I think it's really the child in all of us, because we all remember that composition notebook and drawing and doodling when we were those young kids, and it really evokes that sort of emotion and feeling and memories when you're looking at it. So I hope that game does immensely well, because it looks really, really cool.
And it's not going to Switch? That's what you said?
It's Xbox exclusive right now. Wow. So it may be a time sort of thing. So that means Microsoft paid them some money.
Yeah. Some of these development houses, they be fans too. They be like, I don't want to go to Microsoft, I want to do Sony. And it'd be like, I get it, you a Sony person, but don't forget.
But it is mobile though. It is on iOS and Android.
Right.
So
the beef.
Right, exactly. So and
it looks cool though.
Yeah, it does look cool. And I think it'll come to something like that will come to Switch eventually.
Absolutely.
That's tailor-made for the Switch.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, why is it not? They need to stop. Well, maybe Nintendo just got different standards. I don't know.
No, I think Microsoft paid them. I really do. I think Microsoft
keep it exclusive.
Yeah, they probably it's probably a 6 months exclusivity, because we saw that last week or a couple weeks ago when we looked at the Artful Escape, and there was another game Backbone as well. I think both of those were exclusive because they debuted on Game Pass first, and then after that exclusivity left, they went to everything else. So it'll probably be something like this, even though unfortunately this isn't coming to Game Pass because I would so play this day one every Game Pass. But probably is just a 6-month window. Microsoft doesn't do long exclusivity deals when they do have them.
Oh, okay. So all right, well shit. When they come on Switch.
Exactly. Cool. Switch, I think it'll be a good deal for it. And last but not least, we have WWE 2K22.
First things first, I'm gonna say all the words inside my head.
I mean, Graph is the boss. Acknowledge him.
See, I don't even.
That's all good. Our producer knows exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, that was Ray versus Hulk. Charlotte, Ricochet, Prince Puma. Uso Penitentiary.
I saw The Rock, right? I didn't know.
He's in it.
I didn't know he was going back.
Oh, always.
Oh, okay. So that's something that the franchise only does.
Can we have that match in real life? AJ Styles, Rey Mysterio ladder match? Like, Vince, somebody, if y'all listening, make that happen. That would be amazing. Almighty. Yeah, Rhea Ripley. Well, I'm not sure she's in the game, but the fact she's actually in the trailer it says a lot.
See, I didn't know they went back.
Oh, yeah, they got a whole host of classic stars every game.
Okay, cool. That's dope.
A lot of the cats in the Hall of Fame have Legends deals. A lot of them, not all of them. So they are able to use their likenesses for X amount of period. I think Undertaker's still under contract, even though he's not wrestling. I think reportedly he's under contract probably till he takes his last breath at this point in time. Yeah, it was like a ridiculous
deal.
Yeah.
Terrible.
I mean, it looks cool. I'm a wrestling fan, so I just get excited seeing that presented in a digital format. Personally speaking, I'll probably watch a lot of gameplay, and the cat I watch, once he gets it, I'll probably watch some of the things he creates. Unfortunately, it's just as a gamer and a purchaser, it's not a purchase. I want to watch it, not play it. That's just kind of how I am about it.
Well, is it gonna be Game Pass?
No. Oh, no. Well, play this. It all depends on how it sells.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
Because
what are you talking about?
Yeah, and then they've put their games like the NBA series has come on Game Pass for periods of time. So who knows? And even looking at game sales, this isn't 2K related, but Guardians of the Galaxy is actually will be on Game Pass starting on the 10th of March. Good. And Square Enix wasn't that excited about Ubisoft, whomever made the game, wasn't that great about the game sales, even though it sold really well. But they did the same thing with Avengers as well. So if it doesn't sell that well, they may try to find another way to get revenue, and that may be one way. That's one of the things and I hope, going back to the initial discussion, I hope that Sony's competitor offers another way for studios to get their game out there to people. If it doesn't sell that well initially, you put it on that subscription service for X amount of months, you get more people involved and more people buy it. I have bought games. I would say just Game Pass drives game sales. I've bought games from Game Pass from being able to play them on Game Pass. Games I never would have bought.
I think to what you're speaking on, I think that will help, just because like the PlayStation Plus, like tab on the PlayStation or whatever, it does a great job at like promoting games. There are some games that I have right now downloaded to my console that I have yet to play, but they was free, and I
Right.
watched the trailer and I was like, I would play this, so I'm gonna just get
Right.
it, and then when I have the time, I'll get to it. I don't know, they do a good job with that, marketing their sales and stuff like that, and all of their DLC and things like that. Like, I definitely believe that this could be a situation where they, I don't know, find a way to push these games and they end up selling better than normal.
Right. I agree. I totally agree. I think that with especially if they pivoted in a similar vein to way Microsoft does, I think they could really utilize it as a way of encouraging game discovery by players, but also of generating revenue, not just for themselves, but additional way to generate revenues for the publishers as well, and developers for that matter.
Yeah, I agree. Because now that we have this, or whenever y'all decide to release it, Sony, I'm definitely going to be on there, like trying to see, like on a weekly basis, like what's going on. I check PlayStation Plus maybe like twice a month. One time when the games come out, the new games for the month, and then whenever they boasting about a sale, I'll go in there and look and see what's going on. But other than that, I'm like, oh, it is what it is. But this kind of feature though, like what you're saying,
right?
I'll definitely be tuning in to see if I could get games.
And
like
that's
this
also where at least with the Sony component with the premium, that's also where the not so much game demos, but the time play, the game trial comes into play as well. That could be a very good avenue for developers if they don't want to put it wholly on that service, to at least offer a trial. And again, that's just a cheap way. See, I have a problem with that, because what happens to just game demos, man? Come on now. Just give us a game demo. If you want us to try it out, don't make us pay for a demo. But that's another conversation for another day.
I'm hoping that the trial thing will be a little different, because with demos, you download it, it's the first maybe 3 missions or 2 hours of gameplay or whatever. I hope at least with the trial situation, it's like, oh, you can play the full scope of the game for X amount of time, and then the time runs out, you either have to buy it or just call it a game.
Right. That I can see that working as well with I think games with gold, and they do that, or weekends with gold where you get like a weekend to play a game or something like that. Xbox does something similar to that. So I can see that working as well. So Brian, what do you have coming up this week?
Talk+Play blerdcast, boom, got it right this time. This one, I'm on here. I think we're doing TV this week. A lot of great season finales happen. A lot of shows getting into the meat of whatever the season's supposed to be about. So talking TV on there, and I think that's pretty much it for me.
And I will say, if you're listening to this show and you want more in-depth gaming from Brian, definitely check out his podcast. The last one I listened to was really all about gaming, and he got into a lot more depth about a lot of the topics and games we've talked about on this show. So you want a bit more from Brian, definitely listen to his podcast on a weekly basis. I do.
Thank you for that.
No problem. And for me, finally, I will be dropping, once I finish recording it, because I'm only halfway done right now, episode 100 of the Sartorial and Geek podcast by WebsterStyle. A lot this week. We're talking 28 days of Black cosplay. We're talking, I have a new segment called Gentleman Spotlight. I firmly believe in giving flowers to those who are still here. And WebsterStyle proper actually started with way back in 2009 or 2011, whenever it was about representing men of color in ways that the media didn't. And as lots changed since then, you see more and more of us, but I want to go back to those roots and start to re-highlight men of color that I see out here that are really making moves, that are doing things and being positive examples for all of us. So that's why my new Gentleman Spotlight, as well as I'm talking fragrances, I'm talking Picard episode 1 from season 2. And as of today, I might talk about Star Trek Resurgence, because they have some really killer gameplay for that. I'm so excited for that game. It's ridiculous. I will be buying that day. I'm buying that physical when they come out. That's like the perfect game for me. But that's what's coming up now. It should be dropping on Friday, March the 11th.
Good. Well, I'll be tuned in,
Thank you.
every week, Webster Style.
Right.
It's a good podcast, man. I'm proud of you. It's
Right.
pretty,
And Brian, where can they
pretty
find you?
interesting. Huh?
Where can they
What?
find you?
You're right. But oh yes, you might want to tune in this particular podcast, whatever. I ain't got some information about the Halo series or whatever.
Oh
I
yes,
don't know.
can't wait for that.
Huh?
Can't wait for that.
Yeah, I don't know if you're gonna like it though, but I'm like,
It's all good.
we'll talk about it. But
no,
yes,
Brian, where can they find you?
to hear.
So, my way is right here.
Right. Because I'm right-handed. So, but anyway, Brian Sapph, Twitter, Instagram. Like I said, Talk+Play, blerdcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, and then I'm here right now on the checkpoint with WebsterStyle on Nerds Rule the World YouTube.
Exactly. And be sure to find me every week. It's Hard and Geek podcast by WebsterStyle. Well, pretty much almost every week. I took it last week off. But more importantly, you can find everything that is WebsterStyle at WebsterStyle.com. Twitter, Instagram, WebsterStyle.com. And as Brian said, you are currently with the nerds who rule the world. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at the NRW. Follow us on Instagram at New Release Wednesday. And of course, you're on YouTube. So like, share, and of course, subscribe. And we are out.